just getting on to the arrow side of things, you typically run feathers. Is there a feather length that you prefer?
Uh,
Or is that based off of kind of application, what you're doing?
It's based off
or
application. Based off application. So I've found if you use a smaller fletching, 2.5 to 3 inch feather, and do a 4 fletch, that it is affected by wind a lot less. You're shooting a traditional arrow, a traditional bow, you'll find shooting in the wind becomes an issue.
Okay.
Because your arrow is not going as fast as it's not as efficient as a compound in the wind. So shooting at a crosswind, you're going to see that arrow kick out whichever way the wind is blowing. If you're shooting a smaller feather and your bow is tuned correctly, you'll see a lot less wind drift, if you will. Really? As well as if your feathers get wet, take an arrow fletched with 3 5-inch feathers, douse it in water, shoot it. You're gonna, on a tuned bow, you're gonna see a lot of accuracy issues with that. Your point of aim, point of impact is gonna be way off.
Even at are we talking about like greater than 10 yards, or because that's about where I'm at with the trad bow?
Within 10 or 15 yards, you're gonna see a difference.
Really?
Yeah, because it's taking that big, huge feather is basically soaking up water.
Right.
It's adding weight to the back of your arrow, which is gonna throw the tune of that arrow off. You take smaller fletchings, smaller feathers, put it on the back of an arrow, douse it in water. That's less surface area that is being soaked with water, less weight, less difference to your tune.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I've found.
Right. So whenever do you shoot longbows too? Longbows, recurve bows. I mean, you got a mix. Do you change out your feathers based off of the bows themselves too? Like I prefer a 5-inch feather on a recurve bow versus, a 3-inch feather on a longbow.
So I do shoot both styles of bow, if you will. However, I usually hunt big game, at least deer hunt, bear with a recurve, because I personally find that I shoot a recurve better than I do a longbow.
Why is that? What is the? I've never messed with longbows ever, so I have no idea.
So I do a lot of testing, I do a lot of shooting. Ask my wife. I'm in the yard a lot, but I think for me it is the weight difference, the weight factor. A recurve is got a solid riser, thick riser. Your longbows are usually smaller and lighter. But personally, what I find myself enamored with longbows because of the tradition of it.
It's as primal as it gets, isn't it? Let's stick and string.
It is. You take a longbow, some 5-inch feathers or 4-inch. I prefer the 4-inch feathers on a longbow because I don't like the big long 5s, but I like the look. And traditional can be about look sometimes. I like the look of a 4-inch feather on an arrow. Take that longbow into the woods. There's something primal about it when you walk in with it.
Yeah.
Even if you can't hit anything with it, you feel like you're there. You're getting back into your ancestral roots.
Yeah, I can see that. Even with just going from compound bow just to I got a Satori now that I've been messing with, right? Just going to that. I mean, it's such a learning curve. It's very, very difficult for me to be consistent with it because there's the draw length. I mean, it doesn't roll over and stop at, 28.5 inches, finding my anchor point, anchoring correctly. I've just really struggled with. And, I talked to Ruben, I'm like, hey dude, what's your draw length supposedly whenever you shoot your trad bow? He's like, I'm drawing at like 29.5 inches or something like that. I'm like, I don't understand how, because whenever I measured mine, I'm 27.5. And they're like, you're probably collapsing somewhere. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't feel like it though.
So there are some mechanics to shooting a traditional bow. And he was probably right with that. You're probably collapsing under the weight because, like you said, you don't have cams, you don't have let off.
Right.
The farther you draw that bow, the greater the resistance you're going to get from the bow.
Right.
So a lot of guys have that issue shooting heavier bows. They'll come to full draw. They don't, and their front shoulder start collapsing under the weight of the bow. So they'll start doing this, and one little movement like that is going to throw off your shot.
And it throws everything off. Like, it's dramatic.
Yeah. So getting to the Ruben thing, like, that's something that me and him actually worked through together, and it's good that he has mentioned that to you.
Yeah.
Set that front shoulder. We can talk about it.
And that's what we talked about. And so one of the things he told me, it's almost like you kind of flare your lat out. Mm-hmm. And is that how you kind of eliminate that from collapsing, is just pushing your lat out, almost flexing it?
Exactly. Just flexing the lateral muscle. You probably can define it better than I can. The lat, yes, pushing it out, set your shoulder, and then that's just bone on bone contact between you and the riser, and you don't let it move.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing that I've just really had an issue with, is because the more he says it, the more I'm like, okay, I've got to think through every aspect of this shot from beginning to end. If not, something's off.
And it's funny you say that. A lot of guys, I talk about the traditional stuff, or I see people talking about traditional stuff. A lot of guys are shooting compounds, like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. What they don't realize, shooting a traditional bow, whether you hunt with it or not, in your yard, in your garage, on your personal range, taking the time to learn how to shoot a traditional bow correctly, work out a shot process, work through your shot process, be intentional with your shot process. If you can shoot that traditional bow at 15 yards accurately, you pick up your compound, you're going to be invincible.
Yeah. I can see that.
You're teaching yourself the correct mechanics, and your mind is working through everything, and your body's doing it in sync at the same time.
Right.
So that's one thing that I've found personally, and that I've seen in other people, is after shooting traditional for so long, I can pick up a compound and make a stupid long shot, even after not shooting it for a year.
Right. Because you can just work through that process that efficiently.